All right. And we're live. Welcome back to Conscious Evolution. My name is Alan. Thank you for joining me here today. Man, feels so good to be back on here, and I wanted to plan it and like schedule, and we're just doing it. We're doing it right now. So today we're going to read from my favorite book. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you know what that is. I'm not going to mention it so I can keep it published. But the title of the chapter is Reconnect to the Greater Force That Is. And I think that this message is so important today and in our current affairs and where we're at. What's up, Bravery? How you doing, brother? I just can't. I was so drawn to this. Like, I felt like I was going to read and do an episode with the next chapter in, this book that I've been reading. But as I thought about that, this chapter popped into my mind. It was like, this is the message that people need to hear today. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read it. It's a long chapter, and this is going to be a long live podcast. So hope you got some time. Probably ain't got shit else going on because I ain't got shit else going on. It's been a long time since I've done this, so bear with me here. Subscribe to my channel if you want. Subscribe to my website and my social media. You follow me there. I'm becoming more active in it. I've been so busy working since the last 4 months, since the middle of November. I've been working like 70 hours a week, so I really haven't had any time to really dedicate to this. I got an hour drive ahead. Let's go. I love it. Perfect. I feel like this light is like super bright. Is that better? Oh, no. That's what I wanted, but I just want to turn it down a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Anyways, so I hope you guys are doing well in these times. I got laid off last Monday, so this is day 7 of being unemployed. And who knows how long that's going to be? You know what I mean? Like these are very interesting and turbulent times that we're in right now, and I don't really want to get into that right now because I have a lot of podcasts set up and scheduled with several different YouTubers where we're going to talk about just that. I've already released 2 of them. So if you guys haven't seen that, check them out. I hope you get something out of the video. And they're long videos, 40 minutes to an hour, and that's what I think I'm going to concentrate a lot on moving forward with my channel, because I've kind of said everything that I've learned esoterically and metaphysically, spiritually over the last year, and those are the messages that I really wanted to convey to people. And all that content's out there. I forget how many videos. I did over 200 videos last year. So that's all saying everything that I know and everything that I practice and how I've shifted my life from then till now. And a lot of it has to do with the healing frequencies that I work with and the information contained in this book. And it's very paramount to the changes that I made. And I think that everyone's path is different in this life to remember that connection to source, to God, to the universe, to spirit, whatever you think of it as. We all have our own journey. There's no 2 journeys that are exactly the same. And each person, I like to say, we're all climbing the same hill, the same mountain, but everyone's taking a different path. Even someone walking right next to you is taking a different path. So we all have the same journey of ascension, but no 2 paths are the same, because we are all unique individual expressions of source. And we've come here to have a human experience. And the energies on this planet are changing dramatically right now. And it's fascinating to watch. It really is. It really is. And that's why I think this chapter stood out to me this morning to read this. So, oh, there's another thing I wanted to say. There's this guy I found running for U.S. Senate. His name is Dr. Shiva for Senate. He's in Massachusetts. But we can still support him no matter what state you're in. I donated. If you donate $25, you get this body system that he created to understand like your body's system and how it works, and it's individual for each person. So if you donate that, you get like this whole ebook and how to use his whatever, I can't remember what it's called right now, but the system he used, he created to identify your body type and to how to best work with your bodily functions. You know what I mean? So it's really a lot of things that I did over the last year, you know, just kind of intuitively, but I think that's a great tool and resource for people. But I like what this guy stands for, and I like what he's saying right now. So there's links below in the description. So check that out. Go to his website, sign up for his newsletter, and check that stuff out. He's got a YouTube channel with a lot of followers. I reached out to him. We'll see if he wants to come on the channel too. And I'm really excited about that because he's super intelligent. And if you want to see a change in something political, this is the guy. I just know it. I knew it as soon as I heard what he was about. You know what I mean? So if you want real change in a political sense, then support this guy in any way you can. Again, websites below, YouTube videos below, and what he's talking about right now with this coronavirus is really, really amazing. All right, so chapter whatever it is, reconnect to the greater force that is. We feel your energy. We feel the energy forcing its way through. We understand where we are. We are witnessing a greater flow of force. We are relegating ourselves to the force that falls through this being. We acknowledge this being's performance in helping us to withstand those forces that illuminate the energies that are part of us all. We feel your life coming to focus when your energy is interacting with that which is. If you haven't been following, that which is source. It automatically amplifies its force in a way that is meaningful to the audience it is in contact with. We feel that this force will recognize a large latitude of energies that will involve itself with a greater meaning. This meaning, this message, as it were, is essential to the future of this plane. There is significant disturbance in the force fields, and now there is a quandary as to how they will replenish their force to harmonize for the betterment. This process of these planes having conflict with one another is producing disturbances in all seismic fields and in spatial relationships with the environment. You're in conflict now, and it's going to continue for a great degree of time until there comes a resolution. It is, in fact, a sort of critical mass that is being approached. And when this is achieved, there will be a great release of energy, a profound force field that will, in a way, explode into this environment. It is becoming at one with itself, but now it is at odds. It is in conflict. This conflict is producing strange forms of energy and weather patterns and natural disturbances that are recognizing the impact of this energy. This will change as this great force is realized. It will be a quandary for some for some time for many people as they shift their own sensibilities in concert with this larger great force. Until then, there's going to be a great conflict, and in this conflict will take a number of years to resolve itself. But it's riding out the storm, and all those who are in this plane are preparing spiritually for the spiritual storm to come. They're fortifying themselves to find that deeper spiritual storm. Well, sorry, to find that deeper spiritual understanding. These preparations are essential to ride through this period. Now you see why I thought this was so fitting for today in these times that we're currently in. Those who do not reach out for this spiritual weather map are not going to be able to survive it. They will fall to the wayside and will reincarnate at another time. It is an incredible period in terms of trial and error, trial and survival. It will enhance those beings as they come through this sort of cosmic car wash. In the end, they will reappear as much larger humans with greater voices that are heard undeniably in the land. It may take conflict, though, to create this. There's a real urgency that needs to be understood. We have a very limited amount of time to prepare for what is to come. So there needs to be a lot of effort put into the quest of developing the spiritual self if we're going to become enlightened from the experience to come. It's like a trial. No, it's like a trail where you need a compass. If you don't have the compass, you will be lost. This spiritual quest provides the compass to find the way through it and to access the knowledge that will come with it. In other words, you have to understand French to read French. Unless there is a quest to understand, to learn, to understand the language, you will be clueless when French appears. This knowledge will appear, but unless you have the understanding to access it, it will be virtually no use to you. So, the way to prepare for this is to follow spiritual paths and to recognize that there are not just an evocation, nor are they just a way to pass time for interesting cocktail conversation. To recognize that they are as essential as is water for this life. They have to become that important to people. Again, there is no way you can force someone to drink the water, but you must understand that there is a drought ahead. It doesn't matter which path you take. The important thing is to be on a path, because in that process, you are ultimately trying to open doors. It's the process of opening doors that opens your life to the experience of that other plane. You're opening yourself to other possibilities. Now, if you close that door, you never see what's going on beyond. And that happens and that's what happens with so many people. They just close the door. They're good with their box of beliefs. They're not willing to open another door to expand their box. The important thing is that any spiritual path opens the door and makes you able to access whatever is to come. But you have to be in that process of opening doors. Trials make us stronger. In terms of understanding our compassion in our lives, this life is not meant necessarily to be easy, because if it were easy, there would be nothing to grow from. I'm not saying that you're going to suffer. You're not here to suffer. You're put here to enjoy. But it's the process of learning how to enjoy that's important. That you do not become a victim to an event, but derive joy from it, whatever that event may be. It can be a multitude of varied experiences. Some things are seemingly negative, in actuality, possess gems of great enlightenment. There are changes coming that won't necessarily be comfortable for some, and I can't shield you from that. So it's an alarm that's been rung, that's being rung, a shift of consciousness, because in essence, we have separated ourselves from the universe, and the universe is now drawing us back. It's now saying, listen, you are a part of the greater whole. You have to recognize that you can no longer deny that, and that you are a part of the entire cosmos. You do not function isolated. And somehow, in this plane, at this time, we have gone off and become very disconnected from the rhythm that flows through all of us. The rhythm is going to get louder, and you're going to be forced to hear it. And those who shield their ears and close their eyes, yes, they will have to come back again, to try to understand the process of being part of a greater rhythm. The function of the ego is in many ways essential and destructive. It's a paradox. It means to find balance in the two. Our proclivity is to want to individualize to the point that we totally separate ourselves from all that is. And in doing so, we are becoming destructive. There needs to be a balance. So, with these events that we're talking about, these periods to come, there will be in some quarters a type of suffering, but that is part of the function of the whole process. I know it sounds contradictory, but there it is. The truth of the matter is, there won't be trauma if you learn the lessons. You'll have an understanding of it. That's the whole quest. It's all how it's interpreted rather than being a victim to it. So don't be a victim. You know, that victim mentality, that blame and shame and guilt of yourself and others is really counterproductive to a spiritual journey. But it's part of life. It's what we've been programmed for, and that's what we strive to overcome. The greatest lesson is the greatest lesson is that it's very individual. Again, it's not to say, all right, everybody stand by me now, and I will impart to you this kind of food for your soul. That's not what it's about. It's about recognizing your connection to the infinite and all that is, and remembering that, recognizing that all the answers are already there. All the lessons you need to learn, you've already learned on some plane or another. They're all part of this package. Because if you were part of the infinite, you are also part of the infinite wisdom. You have access to that. You now have all the answers you'll ever need. All the answers are within. It's creating access to it, refining that connection. And that begins by opening doors, by looking out and not looking to the side and being distracted. That becomes very individual. One person's way to open the door might be very, very different from somebody else's. There's no one way. There's no one thing that I can say to you to avert what is to come. For some people, it's essential that they experience what is to come. It's going to force them to deal with it. And that's why it's appearing. There's a great discordance in terms of the energy in this plane now. They're fighting one another, trying to find their level, trying to find their comfort. And in that process, in that upheaval, great change is coming. Great change is coming. And ultimately, wonderful change. It's like a whole renaissance, a rebirth. And in that rebirth, in that realignment of force, is a lot of pain. When a woman gives birth to a child, it's a great deal of pain. And then there's life. But it grows out of that trauma, the phoenix rising out of the ashes. It's part of the whole cycle of life and death. Suffering is not necessarily something that needs to be avoided. It's incredibly beneficial if viewed in the proper perspective. And what we do is train ourselves, our spiritual paths, or train ourselves through our spiritual paths to view this suffering in an enlightened viewpoint to see how it will make us expand our growth within the universe. Then it becomes essential, it becomes fulfilling for the whole experience. For some people will never hear it without trauma itself. Others will, and others will interpret it in a way that will propel them further along their paths. I insist people get on the path. Get on the path. When these events take place, these various kinds of occurrences, it will propel you. You will learn how to use it, but you've got to be on the path, otherwise, you are aimless. So many people are aimless and they're freaking out right now. And I think what's occurring in the world now, a lot of people collectively are going to find a path. They're going to open a door. They're going to be willing to expand their belief systems. And I'm really excited for it. All right. The pain of childbirth has a function. There is a function in terms of the force of the energy coming through. This energy field that enters and comes alive needs to have a space made for it in terms of its impact on the environment. And that process is like breaking the sound barrier. That force of energy is working against the elements to provide a new manifestation of this particular energy's form. The most wonderful thing that happened is when Eve ate the apple. Had she not, Adam and Eve probably would have been profoundly bored. I'm speaking metaphorically here, of course, that life is not about lying about and having comfort. This is why you come to Earth. You come to recognize your value in the vast cosmos in terms of your recognition of that which is in your life. It's sort of a game that's played. You come here with your memory erased of the profound connections you have, and then the game is to recognize it first. Not that it's competitive, it's certainly not. But do you recognize it in this lifespan? Do you reconnect and find the way to use that force in your environment to enlighten others around you, to increase the vibration of quality of the experience? You give back to that. You find a way of connecting to that because you are separated. And then your goal, if I were to put it in such a way, your goal is to reconnect to it. Separation, reconnection. You need to understand the mortality. There's an experience that is to be had that is unique in this plane. The seemingly mortal coil that we experience, that there is a beginning and an end. We come to that with this information. Sometimes, well, often, it is essential that this perspective be there so that the experience is fully realized. In other words, that you really take the time to smell the flowers because time is limited. Well, in actuality, time is infinite. And there will be other sorts of metaphorical flowers to smell in the future. But if you knew that coming in, there would be no attempt to really understand the plane you're in now in terms of the value and the preciousness of the moment. If it was just that I'm going to be here for X amount of imagined time and I'll just sort of sit this out until the next lifetime rolls around, there would be nothing special about the experience. Part of it Part of what is special about the experience is the illusion it has a beginning and an end. I like that. I never thought of it that way. And that sort of gives it structure in terms of the experience of it, the quality of every moment that comes. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Start over. And the quality of every moment that comes along, of the preciousness of that individual moment. Now, once you start the process, add to it later the knowledge that it's infinite. Infinite. They're really stressing infinite. It's an infinity in terms of the whole structure of the life force. It even further enhances that rose that is being smelled. In other words, I'm trying to give you a very clear analogy of it with the rose. Here's a rose. If you come in knowing that you're infinite and that life will go on forever, you may not really look at it as a part of the experience. You will not fully be in this experience. You won't fully have those energies flow into you if you are still rooted in some other plane. To take full advantage of the plane you're in, you have to be rooted in it. And part of the rooting in this process is that beginning and middle and end. So you see the rose and you start to appreciate it. Once in the process, you reconnect to the greater force that is, all that is. The rose in it beginning, the rose in it becoming more enhanced because you've had the background. You've come through the trial of it and then had rediscovered your connection. It's a very beautiful process, ultimately. Yes, it is. It's a very beautiful process. It can be difficult, and it definitely has its hardships. But then we grow from that and we look at it from an enlightened viewpoint. And I, I'll let I'll let Solomon keep speaking here. It's sort of like you bloom at the same time the rose does. If you can time it in such a way that you come to full flower with that moment, there it is. You become one. And then there's a deeper understanding of the eternity of life. I think we sent Einstein here to explain time. It's not linear, it's all happening at once. And we shift through various planes at that same moment. This thing called time, certainly two, three, four-dimensional planes, is a yardstick of experience that is imposed upon the life forms in terms of their ability to regenerate. But in actuality, that is extendable, that it is infinite, how you measure infinity. I mean, how do you measure that? It's an abstract. It's birth and death that gives this timeline. When you see the larger picture, eventually, if you're on your path, then you release the fear of death. Death is time. Time by nature has death inherent in it. And we measure things because of that act of death. You remove that from the equation, and suddenly there's no reason for it. It is bigger. It's bigger than that. It's more multidimensional than that. It's a question of accessing that knowledge, accessing that understanding, that reconnection, getting reconnected. The simplest thing I could tell people would be to take the time to experience their true nature, and that is by being in touch with nature, because nature recognizes it. It already is there. It already has the big picture. By putting yourself in that nature, that energy gets transfused to you in a very deep level if you allow it. Now, it can be as simple as meditation. It can be as simple as looking at the sea and watching the waves come in. But take your mind out of the process. The mind, which sort of creates the parameters in terms of your viewpoint, puts the end stops, puts the curtains around what you see. By removing your conscious judgment of what you're seeing and allowing the infinity of that process to enter into your soul, you start to heal. You start to reconnect to that greater connection, to that infinity of what you are. And you begin to access the answers that you need in this plane. Very simply at first, and then more specifically as time goes on, to find that moment where you're totally at ease, whether you're a Buddhist or and you chant, or you sit on a mountaintop and sing, or you go to the shore and feel the waves flow through your life. There's the beginning, or that's the beginning. Now, whatever is written in books or what I say is only to bring you back to those very simple things, that very simple access. All any path ultimately does is just clear the way for that energy to flow through you, for that connection to be made. Eventually, it has to be that you allow it. You open that door for it. Open the door and let it come in. Having accomplished step one, there really doesn't need to be a step two because you have all the answers, all the infinity that you'll ever be able to handle is there for you. If there were a step two, I would say it would be helping others open the doors by being an example, by being in touch with all that is and having that really fully manifest in your life. Therefore, you will affect those in your surroundings, and they will be attracted to the energy that comes through you. They will be magnetized to you. And that step is to help others open their doors. How do you enhance communication? It's about tuning your instrument. It's like pointing your antenna in the right direction. First, recognizing you have an antenna, you have a feel for it, you have a more clearly you have it more clearly so that you begin to understand that voice from within that is there for all. Some people can hear through angels. Some people can hear it through strange apparitions that come to them. Others, have a sense of dream state where it talks through them. It's about finding the antenna that works best for you. Accessing prayer for many people is their way of seeking. The difficulty with prayer is that sometimes the monologue is so loud that this end, so loud from this end, there's nothing to be heard. In other words, the prayer in actuality is an attempt to listen, yet many people have tuned it into a monologue that goes out. What you need is to let information come in. You don't walk through the door, you just open it and it comes in. Communication with nature is different from communication with humans. There's a different quality to it. What is wonderful about a spirit or being in nature and allowing that to enter into you is that there's no static, usually. In nature, certainly not. There is not a kind of static that is created. It works directly from your soul to the soul of nature, and you bond. And I got tripped up here because I just moved to this new apartment, and there's this tree. Hey, kitty cat, how you doing, girlfriend? Gina and Genesis, is that what that is? G33. 33 is my number. I like that girl, whoever she is. Um, but I got so distracted. Oh, there's this big tree like right next door. This apartment I moved into. I live right on Main Street now, so you guys might hear the sounds of traffic coming by. So I apologize for that. But this tree, every time I look at it, I just feel like this soul connection to it. It's 33 minutes I've been on here when that happens. And I found Gina 33, Genesis, Kitty Cat, hi again, Bravery, I love you, brother. All right. I just had to say that. It's like every time I see this, I look at this tree, I just feel like the history of the hundreds of years that it's been here and it's the wisdom and oh it's palpable. All right, where was I? All right, there is not a kind of static that is created. It works directly from your soul to the soul of nature, and you bond. Yeah, I've bonded with this tree. I bond with all of nature because I am really. That's really where I found myself a lot. Living in nature. Where I was living was a nature preserve. It was a tree farm, and it was a really beautiful place. And I was in the middle of nowhere, and there was nobody around, and I was isolated with nature and really connected and bonded with nature, all the nature beings, all the elementals. I mean, I was introduced in such a way, in such a life, other life. It was incredible. All right, where was I? With communication, there is so much that becomes cerebral that gets in the way. And sometimes that cerebral intercourse can jumpstart an instinctual response to the environment so that you begin to listen to your instinct so that you understand a concept. But concepts are only good if they can be utilized. In the abstract, they mean nothing. To read something on paper and to nod your head in agreement is a wonderful little exercise. But unless it affects your life, what use is it? If the cerebral endeavor somehow leads you back to your instinct, where you start trusting your instinct and fortifying that, then that disclosure or then that discourse can happen between people is of use, is essential. It can be essential for some people. Some people, that's the only way their egos will allow them to understand it. If it comes from someone who's much more important than they are. I find the concept so hysterical of the importance. Yeah. 'Cause one thing I've noticed during my spiritual journey, like, I used to like kind of like idolize people and put people on a pedestal or feel like people were more important and powerful than I were. And I really don't do that too much anymore. And like, I don't get starstruck or whatever, like with YouTubers or anything, but I get excited to talk to certain people. But like in the business world, there's still that, but I don't like put people on a pedestal. Like, I don't strive to be like them. I strive to be my own version of success. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's something I notice about myself, that I don't put people on pedestals anymore. All right. It's like me saying that this hand is so much more important than that hand. We're all the same substance. And yet, some people need to recognize or to pretend that there's some sort of importance quotient that goes on. And some people can only understand something if they think someone more important or more knowledgeable than they can impart it to them, because then they can become more important so that they can impart it to someone else. And that's really not the case. But in some people, the only way that they can access knowledge is through someone they believe knows more than they. And the truth of the matter is, we all know. We're all connected to the same great force. So in this chapter, it really touched on a couple things that I was really drawn to. Um, with this great conflict of energies. And since the start of my channel, pretty much, I've always been saying that two different energies cannot coexist peacefully. Like if you have someone of a high vibration and someone of a lower vibration in the same room interacting, the lower vibration person is trying to poke the higher vibration person because it's easier for them to bring that your high vibration, your high energy down to theirs rather than you to bring them up to you, because they're at the lower vibration because they're choosing to be, or maybe they don't know that there's a way to get to that point, or it's too much work for them, or whatever their perception of it is. But those two opposing energies don't interact very well. And that's what's going on the planet right now. We have two opposing energies. We have a lot of light. We have a lot of enlightenment. We have a lot of love coming down in the planet. And the energy is changing. We're in a different part of the universe where the energy is supporting the light, and the light is shining bright. But the darkness, who's been running this place for millennia, isn't going to go without a fight. So these energies have to find a way, because this is a world of duality. There's always going to be light and dark. It's never all going to be love. It's all going to be like darkness. It's got to find its balance, and that's what's happening right now with what's everything that's going on, is trying to find that balance. And he says in here, it is probably going to take years, many years for that. So this, what we're going through right now, is just one of the great conflicts that we're going to experience in this lifetime. So if this doesn't awaken you or push you to a point to where you want to open a door to a spiritual path and start learning something different, doesn't have to be spiritual, quote unquote. Look into energy, look into Reiki, look into reconnection, look into anything that's challenges your belief system. I'm about challenging my belief system. And when I hear things that were like that challenge my core beliefs, like, my ego reacts at first. I'm like, that's impossible. Fuck that. That ain't real. But then I recognize that I react that way, and I'm like, okay, well, let's investigate. Let's dig into this a little deeper. Let's see what's really going on here. So, um, that's my hope, and that's my feeling of what's going on now in the collective, that a lot of people are sitting around and they're going to want to find something. The universe is going to just kind of lead the little breadcrumbs down and put you in front of somebody, or open up a video that resonates with someone that resonates with you, that someone that you'll see as a spiritual leader in the community, or whatever it may be, because that's how it starts. It's how it started for me. I found a video, someone, well, it started with me with a vision, and then I found a video that kind of explained that vision, and it tripped me out, and so on and so forth. I went down that path. But that's how it works. It's a series of synchronistic events that are going to lead you to the path that you're meant to discover. It's up to you whether you discover it, or if you are willing to open that door and see what's on the other side, to see beyond the veil, and to experience life in its full capacity, because it's really, really a beautiful thing when you can see things through an enlightened viewpoint. It really is. I love you guys so much. Well, I only got a few people in here. Anybody have any questions for me or anything? I'll probably come back on live later, just to do like a Q&A or something, because, I ain't really got too much going on right now. I'm just kidding. I got a lot of stuff going on for me in the channel. I'm really excited about it. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you got something out of this video. It's been on for 42 minutes, so I think I'm gonna just go ahead and leave it there. Um, listen to this again. I read this chapter 3 times today before I actually did a live on it. I had a different chapter picked out, because we had left off on chapter 21 in the episodes that I've been doing, so I was going to do 22, which is Unveil Your Soul, which is also a great chapter. But this one kind of resonated, and I trusted my intuition with this one. You know what I mean? So with that, be the change that you want to see in this world, because it all starts with you. And once you change your life and then open that door and have those experiences, then others will be drawn to you and what your experiences are. When you have your experiences, don't try to beat your belief system over somebody's head and make them believe like you, because it doesn't work that way. I learned that the hard way too. Not everybody thinks the same. We're all individual, unique expressions of source. Kitty Cat, missed most of it. Will rewatch. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Kitty Cat. Much love to you. I hope all is well with you and wherever you are in the world. I've got many interviews lined up, and I hope you guys like them. Please leave a comment below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody you think might get something from this message. I'll do this for you guys. All right. I love each and every one of you. Again, be the change that you want to see in this world. Okay, bye-bye.